Today we're looking at something a little bit different. We're used to looking at future rides and lands at the Disney parks, but instead we're looking at something that's going to fundamentally change the way that you visit the Disney parks, and especially Disneyland Paris. And that's the removal of Fastpass and its replacement, Disney Premier Access. I'm going to be telling you all about these changes, how this will affect your visit, and at the end, some of the benefits of the removal of Fastpass and what that could change for many visitors. And all of this comes from the perspective of an ex-Disney cast member who spent thousands of hours inside the theme parks and worked with Fastpass every single day. And actually, if you want to hear more about working at Disneyland Paris, stick around until the end because I have a special surprise. Remember to like this video and subscribe for more Disney, Universal and theme park videos. So first of all, it's worth saying that Fastpass has now been gone at Disneyland Paris for over a year, and actually it disappeared from all the Disney parks. Since the COVID-19 pandemic began 17 months ago, Disney removed Fastpass at Disneyland Paris and it moved to standby queues only. If you're not familiar with the idea of a standby queue, that's just the normal queue, the queue where you wait and then you get on when you get to the end of it. There's no reserving, nothing like that. And the reason for this was that Disney wanted to be able to merge both the Fastpass and the standby queue lines into one longer queue line so that they could have the social distancing markers and that the guests would actually be able to queue up inside the queue line and not go over into the pathways. There were no ride reservation systems, no fast track, no fast pass, no express pass. There's a new system that's going to be launched next week called Disney Premier Access. So how does Disney Premier Access work? So now that Fastpass is gone, Disney Premier Access is kind of like an even faster Fastpass. So you open the app, you select Disney Premier Access, you choose how many people are in your party, you choose your time slot, you choose the ride, and then here's a key difference. You have to pay, and it's not cheap. Disney Premier Access will cost between €8 and €15 per person per ride. So a family of 4 to get on one ride is paying anything between €32 to €60 to skip the queue. So you've paid, you have your Disney Premier Access pass. Remember, you did have to choose a time slot, it's not instant access. But when you get to that time slot, you go to the ride entrance, you go to the Premier Access entrance, and they will scan your QR code on your Disney Premier Access, and you'll get to ride pretty much straight away. So I've actually used this system in Hong Kong Disneyland. There it has this convoluted name, it's called Priority Special Attraction Admission Pass. And they also had these at Shanghai Disneyland as well. In Hong Kong, we got them for free with our booking. And in Shanghai Disneyland, this was just a paid system like it is at Disneyland Paris. And I can say for both parks, it worked extremely well. And the reason it works so well is because so few people are using the system. So if you're using Premier Access, that queue is basically going to be empty. You're going to get on very, very quickly. But there needs to be a proper Premier Access queue that works. So for example, at Hong Kong Disneyland, the Premier Access queue line gets you directly to the front of the ride. There's no merge point. It takes you directly to the loading platform. And so when we used that, we got in the queue and we went straight to the front. There was absolutely no one else in there. Disneyland Paris needs to have a good, hard think. Are they going to fully replace Fastpass permanently? They've said yes. They've actually taken down the Fastpass machine signs. They've taken down any reference to Fastpass at all in the park. So it looks like they're going full in on this, but if they're doing that, they need to make sure that the Premier Access guests are going directly to the front. So if I'm doing, for example, the Tower of Terror, I don't want to just skip the queue before the pre-show. I want to skip the queue before the pre-show, do the pre-show, and then skip the queue in that boiler room area to get on the lifts. If we're doing Big Thunder Mountain, it's not a problem because the Fastpass queue line there goes right to the front. But somewhere like Space Mountain, they've just taken over the Fastpass queue, but there needs to be a queue that takes you directly to the loading platform. I don't want to pay for this service and then the normal queue line merges 15 minutes before the loading station where the Fastpass merge was. So that's something, if they're going to market this as a premium ticket, in my opinion, it needs to go right to the loading platform to make it worth it for people. So what do I think of all these changes? I think ultimately, if you are a big Disney Parks fan, and chances are if you're watching this, you are, and for enthusiasts like me, the removal of Fastpass for us, it is a bad thing. And that's because we know how to get the most number of Fastpasses per day. We know how to work the system so that when I visit any Disney park, I never have to wait for anything. I'm definitely not waiting 2 or 3 hours for the top rides. I'm using Fastpass throughout the day with the busiest rides. And for us, this is going to be a bad change, getting rid of Fastpass. However, for the vast majority of visitors, the removal of Fastpass is actually going to be a positive change. It's going to equal out the wait times for the rides across the park, And that's because of the way that Fastpass worked. So from my time working Indiana Jones at Disneyland Paris, I can tell you that we set the Fastpass ratio to 50%. So that meant that Fastpass, when it was offered, half of the guests getting on the ride every hour had a Fastpass and half did not. So for every person in the regular standby line, we're waiting twice as long than they would if Fastpass was switched off. So that's one of those things. Fastpass only works for people who know how to use the system. And that's one advantage I can see for regular visitors. We won't have enormous queues anymore. The reality is that most guests riding the attractions aren't using the Fastpass, but Fastpass riders are pushing up the wait for everyone else. So in that sense, getting rid of Fastpass is more fair. Then there's the issue of Premier Access. So there's a few ways to look at this. Number one, which is true, is Disney has replaced the free Fastpass with this, and that's exactly what they've done. And essentially what this means is if you've got the money, you get to skip the queues in front of other people, and for a lot of people, that's unfair. In reality though, that's how everything works in life. If you have more money, you get a better experience with a lot of things. It's sad that it's coming to theme parks, but that's how it's been at almost every other theme park. You've been able to buy these premium passes for a long time. So Disney is really just following the trend of the market. Whether they should is a different question. Plus, if we're being realistic here, the VIP Fastpass system has already existed for hotel suite guests for years. If you stay, for example, at the Castle Club suite at the Disneyland Hotel, you get a Fastpass that gives you unlimited access to everything as many times as you want that had Fastpass. So this is nowhere near as generous as that. You've also been able to pay for premium Fastpasses for a few years, and again, those both got you instant access. The other way to look at this is Disneyland Paris needs money. It either loses money or it's barely profitable every year. The Walt Disney Company isn't going to invest a ton of money if they're not seeing big returns. Plus, Disney saves costs by doing this, so Disney no longer has to pay cast members to stand at the Fastpass machines helping with tickets, so there's likely to be some cost savings. And if it's used as little as it is at Hong Kong Disneyland and at Shanghai, and they keep the entrances for Disney Premier Access right next to the main entrance, actually you can have one cast member doing both the normal entrance and this during quieter times. That's something we used to do at Indiana Jones when there was no Fastpass, but we still accepted the VIP Fastpasses out of season. There'd be no one at the Fastpass entrance, and we'd just hop over, check their VIP Fastpass and let them in through the Fastpass entrance anyway. And then the third point with Disney Premier Access is a lot of people are going to get up in arms about this, but really this is going to have zero effect on most guests. I think so few people are going to use it due to how expensive it is. That's not really going to make a huge difference to your wait time. You might have to wait an extra minute. And actually it's also going to give people that option. If it's their last day and they have a flight to catch, they've got a train, they haven't managed to ride something, they do have the option of paying to ride it. So it's an option. Now, personally, I don't think Disney's going to make a lot of money from this. I think getting rid of Fastpass is going to make waits on average the same, but for the big rides, shorter. But I think this is going to be deeply unpopular. The people I feel most sorry for in all this is the cast members working guest relations at City Hall, at Studio Services, and the attraction cast member. And Disney Premier Access launches next Thursday, the 5th of August 2021. There's a soft launch next Tuesday, the 3rd, and Wednesday, the 4th of August. So we'll see how it goes. Now, before you go, you might have noticed that I've been away for a while, and that's because I've been working on a really exciting project, which is a book all about my time working at Disneyland Paris. It's called A Pirate's Life for Me Inside Europe's Magic Kingdom, and it's available to buy on Amazon right now at the link in the description. I go into all the details about working there, from the interview process to learning how to work the ride at Indiana Jones, what all the positions are on the ride. I've then transitioned over to working at Pirates of the Caribbean and how cool that was, and then ultimately why I left, why the whole experience ended. So if you're interested in that, have a look at the link in the description. And thanks so much for watching. Remember to hit the like button and the subscribe button. I am less than 100 subscribers away from my big goal of 1,000 subscribers. It would mean the world to me if you could subscribe. It's completely free. I'd love to have you along for the journey. Let me know what you think about all the changes to do with Fastpass, Disney Premier Access, and Standby Pass in the comments. I'm really interested to hear what you think about this. And thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.